Welcome to this lecture from ZBrush Character and Concept Sculpting Module 1 course. Now I've decided to do a series of videos showing little parts of my character and concept sculpting module 1 course, which I've got out, which you can find a link below. The reason I'm doing this is that I want to show you quick things that I'm going to be doing in the course, and you might decide actually you want to take this course because I go into a lot more detail over things. So I'm going to do a few videos in series here, and basically this is a model that you can see here, and you can see the course key points that I've got there, such as hair sculpting, sculpting base to high res, creating insert brushes, micro mesh, surface noise, nanomesh, curve on surface brushes, high detail projection, stitching, decoration, posing your sculpt, and also rendering, and a hell of a lot more. So check out the link below to see the full course details and what you're going to get if you decide to purchase the course. So these are little snippets. Another reason I'm doing it is that you can see if you like my teaching style. If you like it, then you might want to spend hours listening to me do the actual course, which is over 180 video lectures and literally must be about 40-50 hours worth of recording. So let's begin, and the first thing we're going to cover here is NanoMesh. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the NanoMesh feature inside of ZBrush. Now I've done a detailed part of nanomeshing inside of my character sculpting course, which you can find a link for down the bottom to look at more of the details of that course. And at the end of this, I've actually got the promotional video for it, so you can watch that if you like. Right, so what we want to do is create NanoMesh. So the first thing I've got here is I've actually got kind of what I've considered to be a skirt. Now the first thing I do is I've got that base, and then I converted it to this. So I just basically did a ZBrush. Again, my course covers all this. So what you're looking for with NanoMesh as well as micromesh is the fact that you want to get your model into nice quads. The better the quads are on it, the better that the micro or nanomesh will work on this. So we're covering nanomesh. I'll do one on micromesh as well, but we're just going to cover nanomesh. So we've got some little bits down here that are a little bit out, but I'm not too worried, because as long as the pattern covers mainly all of it and it looks even, then that's all I'm worried about. I can always touch it up afterwards. The whole thing is to automate this process of creating these kind of armor panels or patterns on a particular piece of topology. So I've got this. So what we're going to do first of all is I'm going to do a simple sphere. So I'm going to jump in. Before I do that, I'm just going to rename these. I'm going to call this skirt, and we'll call this skirt base, and then we'll call this nano mesh receiver. Okay, so that I've got that labeled in there, so it's nice and clear for you guys. Right, I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to grab a sphere, and I'm going to start something very simple here. So I'm just going to make that, and then I'm going to make that a polymesh 3D. And obviously it's not that high res, but I don't care at this stage. In fact, it's good to have it lower because it generates a lot of geometry. But this should be okay. So I'm going to come into the brushes now, and I'm going to go and create a nano brush. Now you're going to get, please select an insert brush first. So you need to make sure that you press the insert brush first. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to create a new one of these. So this is a basic insert brush. Now we've got it as an insert brush, we can create it as a nano mesh here, and there we go. So that's done. That's now a nano mesh brush, even though it doesn't kind of say it. And when you go over the model, what you're going to see now is your insert nano mesh to a poly is activated. So I'm going to go back to the skirt now, and on this piece I'm going to go in here, and if you drag this out, you're going to see your little circle appearing in there like that. But the insert nano brush works like the Z modeler brush. So with that in mind, Control Z, what we're going to do is we're going to go over this, we're going to press the space bar, we're going to go all polys, insert nano mesh. Now we're going to click in here, I'm going to drag, And what will happen now is we will have our little circles appearing, a bit like a dialic. And that is it. So that is now a nano brush, a mesh made out of those spheres. It's like ball bearings. So now if we go into the nano mesh settings under here, you're going to see that we got stuff turned on. Now the placement is that initial mesh. So if I turn the placement off, we've now got this pattern going over it. Okay. So that is basically how nanomeshes work. Now obviously in my course I do chainmail and I use the nanomesh technology to be able to do that. So I've done exactly the same thing. I've made some chain links and I've pulled them out like this. You also have the ability in here to make lots and lots of changes, which I cover in the course, but this is the basic way to create a nanomesh. So of course, you know, with this turned on and this turned on as well, I've got now an undergarment part for it. But the great thing about nanomeshes is if I swap over to my sphere again, let's go to my polymesh sphere, and I go and grab something like a, I don't know, let's pick a square, and we go, right, okay, let's create insert brush and append it to this one. Okay, now it's in there. Come in here, straight down to create nano brush. Okay. Let's start this game. Let's create an insert brush. Just do a new one. Come in here, create nano. Okay, and we'll jump back into our skirt again. And now I'm on my skirt layer. Remember, I can come down to my geometry and my nano brush. Where's that gone? Where's that gone? Modify topology. Nanomesh, there it is. And I can come in here and I can actually swap it. So I can turn the nanomesh off and I can now go back in here and make sure all polys are turned on. And with that brush, I can come in here and I can just drag this out. So now I've got squares. So I can bring them in like this. And I've got squares. And of course, inside here, I have the ability to do lots of things like rotate them in the X, Y, and Z. I can flip, offset them, create a pattern, I can tile them. You know, there's loads of things you can do in here, but you can see how quick that is. And obviously I've got my placement turned off in here. I can turn that back on. So that is nanomeshes. Very, very cool. So next thing we're going to teach is, or one of the lessons is going to be about micromesh as well, which works in a slightly different way, but it's also very, very cool for creating these kind of things. Welcome to this course, Module 1, ZBrush Concept and Detailed Character Sculpting course. So this module is one of a series taking you from initial design all the way to a ZBrush game ready asset with hours of video training. Now in this particular module, Module 1, we're going to be concentrating on actually concept and detailing our character to get it like the course image that you're seeing in front of you now. So along the way, we're going to be covering a host of features, including the following: creating the base meshes. I'm going to show you 3 different ways of doing that. We're going to be building a high resolution body from the base mesh, and we'll be detailing it through all of the steps. So I'll be taking it from a simple base mesh. I'll be showing you 3 different ways of creating those base meshes, and then we'll be actually taking one of those and detailing that model up. We'll be creating a likeness sculpt of the face. We'll be using Dynamesh and the difference between subdivided sculpts and Dynamesh. So I'll be showing you the concepts there. Be looking at topology tools for rigging and creating clean geometry, using Spotlight for reference and looking at reference in general and the importance of it. We'll be looking at different methods for tiling alphads and full demonstration of those methods. Be creating hair, fur and leather using the sculpting brushes inside of ZBrush. We'll also be looking at using micromesh and nanomesh for armor and to be able to easily swap the micro meshes and nano meshes out to quickly give you a different effect. We'll be using the surface noise and the noisemaker plugin, be creating complex Boolean actions for subtraction and creating the U mesh from these. We'll be creating insert, multi-mesh and curve on surface brushes, both appending and adding new brushes plus saving them as well. Be keeping your scene organized and using references. We'll also be, when we finished detailing the high res parts, subtools, we'll be using T-pose to pose our final sculpt. Now I'll also be showing you how to use Z-spheres for rigging as well, for setting Z-spheres up as rigs inside of ZBrush. I'll be showing you how to save custom views and save the document as well as the tool. We will look at materials, color and lighting, as well as rendering out from ZBrush, and as additional feature I'll be showing you how to bring that into KeyShot and render out from that as well. And then finally we're going to end up with compositing our render passes. In this case I'm going to be using Photoshop to render them in. Now additionally, as well as all of what I've just mentioned, I'll be showing you many tips and tricks along the way. So I would expect this course to be completed in about 3 to 4 weeks. Just make sure you understand each step before you move on. There's over 180 video files, so it's hours and hours and hours of content, and some of the assets are supplied to get you started. Now there's support and a Q&A area that you can post questions, because there's going to be questions. It's a very complex course. So the software that you're going to need to complete this course is ZBrush. I'm using version 2018. You can use 2018 or 2019. For compositing I'll be using Photoshop, but you can use something similar. Pretty much all of the packages such as GIMP, which is a free one, will allow you to set it up as well. And if you've got KeyShot, great, because I show you how to render in that as well. So as I mentioned, this is module 1 of many of the courses that I'm going to be building on. So I'm going to be using the same asset in the next module, module 2, and so on, until we complete all of the modules to get us to a game ready model, which I'll be actually putting into Unity or UDK, Marmoset toolbag for viewing, rendering, creating turntables. So if you're interested in game, this is module 1 of it. Follow them all the way through. This is by far, I would say, one of the longest parts of the course, the module, because you're actually sculpting something, and this is the base for what we're going to use to create all of the other courses from. So I really hope you enjoy this course, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the course and answering your questions.